Hello, this video is basically going to be a game devlog. I've been working on a sequel for a game I released like some years ago called Galactic. Let me show you real quick. It's basically a 2D arcade shooter. I was trying to go for the same vibe as something like Geometric Wars was doing, like back in Xbox 360. You know, like neon effects and a bunch of particles and a swarm of enemies. That sort of deal is what I was trying to go for. I never really released this game other than for Android, so I don't have mouse and keyboard controls, but you can see that I can compile the game just fine for Linux. And in that sense, I can actually interact with the game just like this by clicking around with the virtual joysticks and the virtual buttons. Now, as I say, the object of the game was very simple. There's a multiplier that will get reset every time you get hit. So the idea was to kill as many enemies as you can without getting hit, and this will increase your points exponentially. If you use the other joystick, you can shoot, or you can do like the special move that clears everything on the screen. That was the whole gist. As you progress through the game, there will appear more enemies and more variety of enemies, and you will also get access to upgrades. Here, let me show you one of the other weapons that are in the game. It's like a spread weapon or something. It's super powerful, and like I said, you will get this new enemy, and then you can actually level up something. I pretty much produce everything for this game except for the music, I think. The font I did it, you can see that it doesn't look super clean. The neon glow effect is something that it served its purpose, but I always really wanted to make it look much nicer because it didn't really fit what I was trying to do, although it looked relatively fine, I think. So let me show you how the game is currently looking. I mean the sequel to Galactic Frenzy. I'll clear up the screen. And for starters, like the neon effect looks much nicer. So instead of having like the circle shape for every object that I rendered, now it actually follows the shape of the sprite so that for these kind of sprites that have like transparent backgrounds in the middle or something, the neon glow doesn't go in that part. So it just looks much nicer in my opinion. Now, if I can play around with some of the configurations, so I can make the light appear hotter, maybe a little bit more blurred. So I still haven't found like the magic numbers around this, and I still have to get to a point in the game where I have a bunch of bullets, enemies, and other things interacting because since the light is additive, I need to be very careful that the screen doesn't look entirely white. uh, in that case, it's gonna look super bad. So yeah, I'm still working through that. Let me reduce, the glow effect. You can see that the font is looking much, much cleaner. It's a lot more readable. The background, there are two parts to it. One is the stars that you can see like on the front that actually scroll much faster, and the space scroll. It's basically an image, and you scroll through it at a much lower pace, and this gives it like a little bit more depth to it. These, like on the corners, are basically the boundaries. I haven't decided how that's gonna look. I'm just using this as a placeholder for the time being. The mouse and keyboard controls are working fine. Like you can shoot. Right now you don't have any other weapon, but it is currently working fine. So one of the things that I would like to get uh, super like smooth are dealing with huge amounts of enemies or quantities of enemies. So for that, I've actually been you know doing some performance optimizations, playing around with the architecture that I'm using. And right now I've been testing like spawning like I say huge amounts of enemies and see how the performance tanks depending. Now this will be uh, dependent on the hardware itself. So I will have to split to, what are the actual entities that will be just for adding something like to the background or to the UI in general, and which things will be actually affecting the gameplay. So so yeah, that still is something that I need to deal with. But right now I'm just playing around how many entities simultaneously can the engine handle, and not drop to, I don't know, like 3 FPS. Like right now, if I go to, I don't know, this like 600K, I think. Now it's not so bad, like at 14 FPS. Uh, you know, it's unrealistic to have this many amount of entities for the size of the world, but it's good to have this sort of benchmark to know exactly what I can expect from this engine. So I'm gonna clear up the screen, and yeah. So one thing that I wanted to focus for the sequel is being able to release it for Windows, Linux, Android, and web. I would like to show you how it looks like for web currently. Was already running it. So um, you can see that this is exact. I mean, it's exactly the same game. It's using the same code, just compile using something called scripting. And right now, I actually selected the device toolbar, which makes it act as if it was like a mobile device instead of a desktop. So I can actually spawn the virtual joysticks and use them. So it is the same way. I'm thinking maybe the people that use iOS will be able to use this instead, mainly because I don't have any Apple hardware to compile my project, but I should be able to compile it if I had like a MacBook or something. So that's about it for the state of the game as is. Uh, some of the tools that I've been working on for the game are mainly two things. One is a file embedder. So instead of having to worry about where files live at runtime, I just basically wrote a file embedder that takes the file and produces like a valid C++ header for me to use, and then I can just treat this as raw bytes basically. And the other thing that I worked on is like a texture uh, or sprite sheet creator. Maybe I will call it that. The idea is that I have all of these images separated, and I don't want to deal with them that way. So the script goes to the folder and then basically resizes the images and puts them in this nice grid way. And it also produces another sprite sheet with numbers on it, so that I know the index for the sprite. In a sense, I just query it like, hey, I want to render sprite number 43, and it will point to this ship, instead of me having to either manually or some other way worrying about what are the coordinates of the sprite that I want. So this also helps quite a bit by just selecting the index that I want. And I think that's it. I don't have anything else. Thanks for watching. I will leave the link because I'm going to host the web build on my website. So if someone wants to, play around with it, you know, you can use the link. Thank you.